it's good to have it behind us. We're getting close to the season. Incredibly humbling experience. So I'm glad to get that behind us.
What was it like to get out there and practice and get back into the swing of football?
I'm a football player, and football players play football. So, it's good to be back out there with the guys. Not that I didn't enjoy coaching, but that's not what I'm here to do. Looking forward to getting after quarterbacks. Joey Boze did a great job of keeping me in shape, whether that was forms of conditioning and weightlifting, and really got after it the last month. So this practice went well. Football's a tough sport, and I'm looking forward to getting back in shape. But I'm ready to go.
First time working with Jerry in a real practice. How was that? Getting to hear from him and what he brings to the table.
He's a great coach. He loves ball. That's evident. Teacher of the game. He's definitely sees it in a different perspective, and it's good to see the guys around him flourishing. And I look forward to getting with him more and more.
What kind of relief is it, Trey, to have the focus now entirely on football after the last 6 months you've been through?
Yeah, the priority was always the 2025 Bengals, whatever this looked like. Unfortunately for me, I can't write my own contracts. That's something that we had, common ground in finding it, and that's what we're doing now, and that's what's best for the 2025 Bengals. I think is just to suit up and play, and incredibly humbled by the experience.
Negotiations are difficult. How would you describe your relationships with the Browns and the Blackburns after what was a long process?
Yeah, again, I can only say it so many times, and I feel like the compromise between us was mutual. I mean, to be given a raise in the current circumstances, with a lot of things this offseason being brought up about that extension that I signed, this now adds whatever the total was to that extension. So in some ways it was an incredible honor to be in that position. It definitely was common ground with the other forms of negotiation not going the way we thought.
How do you feel like the whole process went overall from start to finish?
Yeah, I think, it's difficult in some ways. I'm not a huge media guy. I'm not a huge, I would love to be out there with the team. That's what I'm here for, to give this knowledge to the guys around me. It was unfortunate that it took so long, but again, we're here. 2025 Bengals are hopefully a better team with me on it.
At what point did you decide, listen, even, you were steadfast the entire time about the long-term deal, it's guaranteed. At what point did you have to make the decision of, listen, it's just not happening and I need to get ready for the season? What was that process like as you kind of
Yeah, this option wasn't here the whole time. I'll just leave it at that. When it presented itself, I was incredibly humbled by it. My wife and I prayed about it, and it was something that we collectively felt good about. In retrospect, it helps me with that extension that I signed, and also in some ways it helps the 2025 Bengals. So I feel like it's a mutual common ground and a mutual respect between us that we weren't finding solutions in any other way.
Given the way the past couple of years have gone, not just this offseason, does that give you some perspective, make it easier to not worry about 2026 and March and anything like that and just focus on this year?
I focus on every year like it's the most important year for me and my family, so this is not something that I'm unfamiliar with going into every season. I think this season in specific, I'd like to raise the guys around me up a little bit better than I have in the past. I'm excited to be a better teammate, raise up the standard of what the guys around me are playing at, and not only leading with my play, but vocalizing what I believe in on the field.
What did you learn about yourself with that in mind, Trey, and would you be open to being a captain of this defense?
Well, captain's not something I can control. For the last couple of years, I didn't want to have to skip OTAs or training camp, and that's where communicating with them that I wanted to be a captain, but I have to do what's best, what I see as what's best for my family. So it contradicted itself in some ways that, I follow faith, family, football in that order, and, it was difficult to navigate the waters with such a love for the Bengals team.
You've talked so much about how long-term security is the most important thing to you in this process. Did you and your agent have any conversations with them about the potential tag next year and what that could maybe do for you?
Yeah, with the salaries going up and the tag also will be going up, so it's not something that I'm concerned about. I have to focus on what the 2025 Bengals means to me, and I want to be a part of something special here. I've vocalized that pretty early and often. Again, I can't write my own contracts. I think we'd all, as players, love to do that. There wasn't one that I saw long-term that I would have considered. So again, this compromise comes with a great amount of respect for me towards them. I'm incredibly honored and appreciative that I can play football at this level.
Was this week kind of like a deadline almost for you, so you could get ready for week one? Were you viewing it that way?
No, I don't think there's any pressure a player can put on an organization. It's the willingness of an organization to kind of move forward. I can only do it in a way that I'm trying to protect myself as a player while the negotiations are going on. It kind of leaves us in a tough spot because, I'd love to be out there with the team, but again, we're going through something that's much greater than we could ever fathom. So, for lack of a better word, I have to be patient until something comes.
There's a lot of conversation about guys falling off as they get older. What have you made of that? A lot of people talk about your age and the long-term deal. How have you felt like your performance will go through long-term as you continue to get older?
Yeah, I don't know if I can speak on that. Like, what I can say is I look forward to proving the people that believe in me right. And, in some ways that's an age is a thing. But, again, I take a lot of pride in my off seasons and the way I train. So I think age is just a number. I plan on playing at a high level for a long time.
What's it like when you hear that when people are like, they have questions about someone as they get older, continue to produce at the level you produce? What's it like hearing that, knowing how you prepare to?
Yeah. If I cared about what people said, I would have been cut in New Orleans in 2019 while I was playing special teams. So, I never looked at other people's opinion of me as something that I value. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I can't change that. All I can do is play on Sundays to the highest level that I can play.
This was a long process, but do you feel like the organization is in your corner and believes in you after this?
Absolutely. To be given a raise for what I do for a living, at any level, I think in life, getting a raise is an incredible thing. So I'm incredibly humbled by the experience. I learned a lot about myself, as we kind of alluded to, about patience and perseverance and, in prayer, the power of prayer, in any circumstance is important. So to get closer in faith, to be a better football player than I was in the previous years is something I look forward to.
Is there anything you would have done differently, Trey, over the last 6 to 8 months?
No, I think everything worked out. I think it's fine. Like I said, I'm not in control of a lot of things. I don't think players ever will be. Across the league, that's going to be something. So, again, we're just adapting with where this salary cap is going and where the edge rushers are going, like that for me personally, and try to fit in wherever I can for what's best for Trey Hendrickson, not necessarily what, anything else. Like, we have our foundation of beliefs, and we live by those.
You've obviously got to see the defense, the last couple of weeks. What do you make it out of throughout training camps? What do you think the level is going to be for the whole field?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that I've seen in practice and in meetings, and obviously I know the limited script that we ran out there in preseason games. So I'm looking forward to having a full call sheet and getting after quarterbacks.
The moment where the deal was done and you got to put pen to paper, how did that feel?
Like I said, I was incredibly humbled. It gives me a chance to play with these guys that I love so much. It gives me a chance to play in Cincinnati, the city I love so much. There's so many positives to it, and I'm incredibly thankful for the opportunity to reach this raise, because it could have very easily just been play it out, and that could have been the answer. So, for me not to have to make a hard decision coming game time I'm incredibly humbled by the experience.
How did it feel walking out to practice today and being a part of practice with the team?
Yeah, like I said, I'm a football player, so playing football is something I look forward to doing.
Any notable reactions or responses from your teammates when they saw the news?
People were fired up, because they know who I am and what this offseason meant to me, and my family. So for us to find common ground in that was relieving, and you could tell that other people were relieved for me as well.
You've had 2 amazing years, 17.5 sacks. Do you still feel like you could elevate your game even more, and this could maybe even be the best season of your career?
Yeah, my goals every year are to be bigger, faster, stronger. Statistics are not something that I can control. I've said that multiple times. I had 8 sacks in my career at one point, 13.5, 14, and 17.5, so all the way down to 2. So, I know what it takes. I know how I've prepared, and I look forward to doing my best for the 2025 Bengals.
Not sure if cool's the right word, but the fact that you, Joe, T, Jamar still have another crack to go after the ultimate prize in this game, does that give you goosebumps at all, thinking about that with all the constraints of the business of the NFL, that you guys still have one more go at this thing?
Well, being to NFC championships, AFC championships, and a Super Bowl, I know how rare it is, and it's hard work. Right now, we need to focus on game one. That's what's most important. And we'll look up whenever the season's over, and then you tackle the next week and the next week and see where it goes.
How close throughout the whole process did it ever come to you potentially not being here this year? Did it ever get to that point where you thought that might be?
We had conversations about it. I think, like I said, we had mutual respect that I wouldn't have to play on the 16. The offers that were being presented to me for my personal reasons that I made clear this offseason weren't being met. So to find a compromise was incredibly humbling. Didn't have to happen. I'd love to reiterate that. It's a blessing to be in a position like this, to be given a raise. So I'm incredibly thankful for that.
You've said multiple times that you love this city. What is it about Cincinnati that you love?
Blue collar, hardworking. I have a lot of those personal beliefs myself. So looking forward to working hard this season to help the 2025 Bengals win.
Is there anything that gives you confidence that this defense as a whole can take a step forward this season?
Yeah, there was a lot of room to improve. In one game at a time, we look forward to right, wrong, or indifferent, putting film out there and getting it corrected week in and week out, hopefully stacking wins.
Was there any point this offseason where you thought you might not return to the Bengals?
I didn't focus on the noise. I just one foot in front of the other, standing firm on what we believed in and waiting for the opportunity to find some common ground, and we did.
And in terms of being in football shape, do you think you'll be able to handle 100% of your normal workload in week one?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I think Joey did a great job getting me in shape. I had a great offseason in Florida and here, so looking forward to getting on the field.